This September, from JT's Horror Discussions, under the license JT's Horror Productions, Slasher September, second year edition. Do you like unique and gory kills? These films got you covered. Do you like cool looking killers who use awesome utensils to dispatch their victims? Got you covered too. Do you like loads of tits and ass all over the place? Don't worry, we got boobies and stuff flying all at you here. Plus some other movies that have nothing to do with slashers. Oh my god. That's all I could start with. What were they thinking? What were they thinking with this movie? Holy shit. 2008 Return to Sleepaway Camp. I finally found it online. 4 hours to download. You know how they say, like, oh man, I wish I didn't waste the last hour and a half of my life that I'll never get back. I feel bad for my computer that it'll never get the 4 hours back of its life for downloading this film. I was not expecting this. I've heard how bad this movie is for 15 years now, since it first came out, and I avoided it like the plague. And I should have just kept avoiding it like the plague. I'm in shock. Like, I'm literally in shock. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't even remember if I said the title already. Like, 2008 Return to Sleepaway Camp, if I didn't say that already. Felissa Rose, it's not even worth mentioning her, because she's there for 2 seconds. Big pussy from The Sopranos. One of the only things that I can find redeeming about this movie. I always try to find at least something, 1 or 2 things at least, that I could say, all right, that was okay, or that was cool, or that was, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. Right from the opening scene of this movie, with the song and the Sleepaway Camp, or whatever the song, I was like, oh, this isn't good. The CGI in this movie is abysmal. The opening scene when the kid, the lightning is farting on fire, and it just the CGI flame, like, the fuck was that? The whole character of Alan, one of the worst characters I've ever seen in a movie. Ever. Like, ever. That's what I started thinking right after I just ended the movie, like 5 minutes ago, and deleted it immediately from my computer. It's like a loss for words. I've seen so many bad movies in my life. Low budget, terrible everything. And I always still try to find a good quality or 2 or something that'll make up for it. Jeez, man. And I started thinking, if this wasn't in the Sleepaway Camp franchise, like if this was just a totally separate film, would I still think this was as abysmal as this movie was? Yeah. Yes. Like, this was so bad. The most evil, obnoxious kids ever at this camp. Like, ever. The way they talk to each other and the counselors and everything. Like, just evil fucking people. That's one thing. I guess it was cool to see Ronnie and Ricky again, I guess. I mean, the acting was terrible from both of them. So, it was still kind of cool to see him. Ronnie's still a camp counselor, like 60-something years old. Come on, man. Come on. Get out of here. He said he owned some of the camp or something like that. Big pussy, he says, is like, oh, yes, a small little amount. He's still a counselor at like 60-something. Like, this was like borderline torture, like, in a way. Like, that's how bad this was. Like, seriously, if you people watching have never seen this movie, please don't see this movie. Like, please. Like, I beg you. Like, don't see this. I felt like I was, like, in the ring, and I was gonna die in 7 days. Like, that this was the cursed videotape. Seeing Isaac Hayes, that was one thing I could pick out, maybe. This was, like, posthumous for him, the cameo by him. Literally playing the chef, which I'm a huge South Park fan my whole life. So being able just to hear, like, his voice and stuff, and that it sounds like Chef, positive. Big pussy from The Sopranos, like I said, like, seeing him. But even his performance was, like, bad, man. Like, how he went from playing that role in The Sopranos to playing this. Oh, man, this is tragic. Every line of dialogue, and I'm going to hammer this shit home real quick. Every line of dialogue in this movie is atrocious. Like, it's insulting. Oh, the cook's corpse when he gets put in the deep fryer or whatever, upside down, and then he's taken out. Dude, the effects in this movie are terrible. Terrible. And I've been praising, like, the effects of the original trilogy. This is unbelievable. That cook's corpse looks so bad. Like, so bad. It's not even funny. TC, really? They had to fucking poison the name of TC from my favorite in the series, Unhappy Campers. And I loved the character TC. They had to name this guy TC. Come on. And then Weed. The kid's name is fucking Weed. Like, are you serious? Who wrote this script? Like, I don't even want to look into it. But his name is Weed. And he's a fucking pothead. So it's like so stupid on the nose. Like, seriously, Weed? And then his friend is screaming, like, after he's dead and shit. Like, he's screaming, Weed! Weed! What? The CGI is so bad in this movie. No one's ever seen anybody with a voice box, like, for people who had cancer and shit like that in their throat or anything like that. Like, no one in this movie seems to have ever seen anyone like that. Every single person that sheriff comes across, they're like, what is that? Why are you talking like that? Are you kidding me? Come on, dude. Again, Alan, every scene, I'm almost reaching for the nearest sharp object just to end it all. And let me just say this. I hate bullying. I cannot stand it. Like how I said in my review for the first film, like how Ricky would just win a huge lawsuit for getting beat almost to death by Mel. This kid, Alan's parents, they could have sued every single person at this camp, plus all of their families, into absolute poverty for what this kid goes through. And I couldn't feel bad for Alan's character. I couldn't. What a terrible character. What a terrible actor. Every performance in this movie is atrocious. The head counselor played Big Pussy saying that he's seen worse tantrums than Alan's. You've seen worse tantrums than the shit this kid, like, pulls off in this movie and the tantrums he throws? I want to see that movie. Like, really? You've seen worse than this? Wow. There's no on-screen death, really, in this movie. Like, there's the spike through the kid's head, like, through his eye. That's, like, basically it. There's, like, nothing. And Ronnie is, like, this isn't just a ridiculous nitpick of mine, but, like, I had to figure this out. The kid says Ronnie said that he's grounded the whole summer, and he's going to check on him every 15 minutes. What a stupid line. I had to literally do the math. Every 15 minutes he has to go and he's going to check on him? That's 96 times a day. Let's say not even the whole summer. Let's just say half the summer. Let's say like June and half of July. 45 days or so, give or take. That's fucking 4,320 times that he's going to be checking on this kid. Let's cut that in half just to give Ronnie some good old sleep. It's over 2,000 times in this summer. And I know I'm being ridiculous right now with that comment, but I just had to. I had to do the math because that line was so ridiculous. I was like, there's no way. Ronnie is checking on this kid every 15 minutes for the rest of summer. There's no way. And he's so obsessed with thinking Angela's back with like, and accusing everybody that he's going to come every 15 minutes just to check that this kid is grounded still. Like, come on, there's more important shit to do. The wood stake through the eye looks terrible. Like, it really does. Like, the few on-screen, like, gore that we get or blood or anything just looks absolutely atrocious. And then the other kid who screams when he with the spike in his eye, the stake in his eye, spear, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. None of this matters at all. He like goes and hits it more against the wall and it pushes back into his head. And then the other kid, his scream, like, oh my god, how tragic. Like, how bad. This is the worst movie that I have seen since Black Christmas remake of 2019. This is the worst movie I've seen since then. This is probably the worst movie I've seen in Jesus, I don't even know. I got the notification on my computer that this finished downloading, and I said, all right, let's just finish this series up. I had no idea what I was getting into. Like I said, 15 years of hearing how terrible this movie is and avoiding it like crazy couldn't have prepared me for how bad this was. If I heard about it for 60 years of how terrible this movie is, and it was like the #1 worst movie of all time on every list, on everything on the internet, in a book, in a novel, anything like that, it still wouldn't have prepared me for how shockingly bad this movie was. I swear to you, I'm not being hyperbolic. This is like really how I felt about this movie. Like it was, oh God, I feel like I have a headache. I couldn't feel bad for Alan's character. Like I could not feel bad for him, which is sad, man, because this kid really gets like tortured in this movie. I could not feel bad about the character because his character is so bad and so atrocious, and he's just so hard to look at. Like what a hard to look at fucking character, man. Like, and hear him, to listen to him, to everything about him. Like they couldn't get any other actor for this movie. Like anyone, just walk off the street and be like, take a homeless person, be like, you want a job? Like anybody, come on, like this was insulting. And then Ricky, we get the end, and she's the fucking sheriff with the voice thing, and just like, what? Like what the hell was that? And Ricky even says earlier, and why did Angela even go to see Ricky just to say, we think Angela's back, and I might need your help, see ya? What was the point of that? And Ricky says that he visits Angela every few weeks, and she's in a padded room for the last 20 years. Yet, she's the sheriff. Like, there's a scene that, like, another cop comes up, like, after a death. I think it was the weed kid with the fucking gas in the joint in his mouth. Come on. That's so stupid. It's not even funny. And the cop comes up to him and says, all right, sheriff, and so forth. So he sees her, Ricky, every few weeks, but Angela was able to become a sheriff in disguise in like 3 weeks, a month. Get the fuck out of here, dude. This was so bad. The last thing I wrote, this film should be sent to prison, like forever. Just throw the key away. Absolutely abysmal. Like, I can't believe this. Like, I was not prepared for this at all. I've seen worse movies, I have. But this was just being part of this franchise was just insulting. I feel like I just had a meltdown. Fucking like, what a terrible movie. Every second of it was painful. I just kept saying, please stop. It's like, you can't be actually doing this. You couldn't have sat there and wrote this script. You couldn't have sat there and cast all these characters and actors for these roles. You couldn't have sat there and just planned any of this. Really? I don't know. I can't talk about this movie anymore. Like, I really. Felissa Rose, her little cameo at the end, like with her with the laughing, the insane overacting laughing, and then just a snap to a regular face and fade to black. I can't escape this fucking movie. So I realized I never made my full point about the whole sheriff thing. I was trying to say that when the weed dude, because we see in the after credits, which I didn't even mention, that she kills the sheriff, the real sheriff, and that's how she takes his clothes and somehow finds his prosthetics and shit like that. There's no way that any of this makes sense. Like, no matter how you try to look at it. The scene after weed, I can't with that name, dude. That's so stupid. After weed gets blown the fuck up, which is so dumb. There's another cop there. He calls Angela sheriff. So he knows her. Like, he knows what is supposed to be the sheriff. That's one way it can go, is that he knows the sheriff with the whole stick and everything like that. So what, he's just 3 weeks he's known the sheriff? He's only been on the job 3 weeks, this cop? Doesn't know, any of this? The other way you look at it, Angela's playing the sheriff, and that's just the sheriff department, and the other cop there is just local police or something like that. Then he just called her sheriff because he thinks that's a sheriff, and just said, all right, sheriff, and they don't know each other. But then, if you can't go that way with it, when she kills the sheriff 3 weeks before in the after credit sequence, isn't somebody gonna be like, yo, Johnny never came home last night? And the sheriff's missing for 3 weeks before the events of this movie. So Like, nobody saw this on the news. Sheriff dead. Did not make the news in the 3 weeks leading up to this film. Come on. Like, it's, oh my god, man. Like, I couldn't get this out of my head earlier, so I was like, I have to, like, add this in because it's just ridiculous. This is set in 2003. They say it's 20 years after, whatchamacallit, even though this came out in 2008. It was, like, in development hell for 5 years. And it was supposed to be, in 2003, it was finished, so that's 20 years. And Ricky says that Angela has been in this padded room in the hospital for fucking 20 years. And he visits her every 3 or 4 weeks, like every few weeks. And it's in the after credit sequence, it's 3 weeks before the events of the film. So she kills the sheriff, and then masquerades as a fake sheriff. But no one, like, this is 2003. It's not like the original, like, trilogy that it's in the 80s and, like, people don't have TVs, or like news didn't travel that fast, or like none of that. Like, this is 2003. 2003. That shit would have been all over the news for counties long. Like, there's a murdered sheriff, there's a missing sheriff, it's something. And none of the people at the camp, they don't have TVs there in 2003? That's ridiculous if that's the fucking case. A radio, like nothing, news of no sort, newspaper, anything that anyone at this camp would see and say, wait, there's a missing sheriff? Like, no, we've seen the sheriff. He's here all the time. It makes no sense no matter how you try to look at it, like, or defend it in any way. And in the end credit scene, this sheriff looks nothing like her. Like, the way she dresses up. He's not a cancer survivor with a voice box. He doesn't have a beard. He doesn't have a big-ass nose that we've known since we first saw this fake sheriff, that it was Angela the whole time. Like, come on. None of it makes sense at all. You can even go a third theory and say that if that sheriff that she killed, the real sheriff, was dead or missing, she would have to take his place to throw off suspicion. Because like I said, people would say, like, yeah, Sheriff John didn't come home last night, or tonight, or the next night, or the night he's fucking missing, or he's found dead or something. So if she tried, like, to take his place, like I said, she looked nothing like him. Nothing like him. Like, there's no fucking can't. I can't with this movie anymore. This is just insane. Alright, I'll see you guys later.